Well, first I want to say that I appreciated reading the article for this week about real lives, and which it focused on whether or not games could be used to create empathy within students towards people of other cultures and how they live the way they do. That's a perspective of gaming that I enjoy more than the militaristic type of gaming where you're trying to take over and use power to control other countries and gain wealth. So I liked that article, and therefore when I chose my video, I used Games for Change, and underneath that I chose the humanitarian section and found there a video game about called Inside the Haiti Earthquake. And I decided to review that game because I have a personal connection with that event. I'm on a board of directors for a nonprofit that does work in the Gonaive area of Haiti, and we happened to be there right before the earthquake. And in fact, we actually left out of the Port-au-Prince airport 3 hours before the earthquake struck. So that event really had an impact on my life. And for 3 days after we got back, we didn't know if some of our staff members who were in Haiti actually survived the earthquake. So it was a very significant event in my life, and I was anxious to review this game to see what it had to say about this event. So this game is designed to challenge the assumptions about giving relief work in countries, and it uses actual event that took place in Haiti to do this. The game uses actual footage from Port-au-Prince, and it uses actual interviews from the survivors of the earthquake and interviews of aid workers, and it shows how difficult the situation really was to work in. The game allows the player to choose from 3 roles: the role of the survivor, or the role of an aid worker, or the role of a journalist. You are then given a context that you're in, and from that context, you are then given a choice of 2 or 3 actions that you can take within that context. And your choice, of course, leads to some kind of a consequence or outcome. There's no winning or losing in this game. The only experience is choosing these different strategies, and is of using or experiencing the outcomes of the choices that you have made if you had been in the real event. The game only lasts about 5 minutes if you want it to. It just depends on how long you take to make your choice, and so it could last longer, especially if you were working with a team or a partner and you were dialoguing more about what choice to take. And then, of course, if you want to try it from a different perspective of the survivor or the journalist, it would take more time. What I liked about this game was that it uses actual footage, so it makes you feel like you're actually there as a player. And therefore it evokes that feeling of empathy that was talked about in that Real Lives article. You identify not only with the victim, but as an aid worker, I felt very responsible for my decisions, because if I didn't make my decisions correctly or quickly, people died because of it. So it really evoked a lot of empathy from all sides. I felt it was very successful in doing that. I also think that it was helpful that if you didn't like the direction that your choice took you, you were able to immediately go back and choose a different choice and see where that led you. So this was more of an informational type game, not so much a win-lose situation as it was described before. One thing that happened, though, is to me as an aid worker in this game was, because of my knowledge of Haiti, I had made a poor choice, and my supplies were already at the port, and I was late picking them up. So in my mind, I was thinking, oh no, my supplies are going to be stolen and gone by the time I get there, because that's often is what happens in Haiti. But in this case, I was relieved that when I got to the port, my supplies were there, and I was able to take them out to the people. I was also like the fact that the game moves at a quick pace, And so I was never bored, and the amount of text that you had to read was very small, so I think students would relate to that better because they didn't have to spend a lot of time reading. It was all very brief and to the point. Um, there was no enforced time limit, but you did feel pressure to get the job done quickly because lives depended on you. So it was sort of an undefined time limit that you kind of placed on yourself. It also allowed for some decisions, sort of ethical or value decisions that you had to make as to whether or not you would make certain choices based on whether or not it would harm people or whether or not you would do it anyway in order to be more efficient or to get recognition for your organization. And that's important too as an NGO because you depend on donors, and donors want to see that you're doing good work and a lot of work and that their money is being used well. And so there were some scenarios where you had to make a choice as to whether or not you would do something that could possibly harm people instead of choosing not to. So that was an interesting piece. I think I would use this game with older teens because, according to Wang, which was also presented in this article called Real Lives, by that time, kids are able to have a sense of collective responsibility towards others in the global world. And also, there's some footage in this game that would be disturbing to kids who were younger. So I would be careful of what age group I used it with. So I think high school would be good. This game is the same every time you play it. So you would exhaust the limits of this game very quickly. So it's very limited. And so I would probably use it just as an introduction to a unit on, the global response to natural disasters, and I would use the work on problem solving with students in this unit. It gives them a chance to then, after watching this video, to explore other NGOs and how they have responded to natural disasters and the challenges they've faced and the successes they have had. They could look at other organizations like the Red Cross, the UN, Oxfam, Save the Children. There's lots of organizations that they could then research and see what they have found to be best practices. And then the students could come up with maybe a list of things that they've identified that are very helpful in natural disaster situations in order to use. This could be a very practical tool. I know a lot of youth that I've worked with in the past have chosen careers in nonprofits, and they deal with these issues. And so this could be a very relevant game for kids to play. The game's limited in its use because, like I said, you can exhaust its possibilities very quickly. I would probably change a couple things from the aid worker's point of view. I was given a scenario from the start that I probably wouldn't have chosen myself, so I wish I would have had a choice of whether or not I wanted to send supplies in right away, or if I wanted to go first and find out what was going on and then just spent the money to bring in the supplies that are needed and had a plan in place before I even brought my supplies. But that was not given to me in this game. There were a couple instances where no matter what choice you made, I discovered that it still led you to the same conclusion. And I don't think that would be the case in real life, that it would happen that way, but maybe it did. Maybe my ignorance in that. It also focused on two aid groups, the UN and the Red Cross, and it made the Red Cross appear much more organized and structured and able to meet the needs of the people better. And whether or not that's true, I'm not sure. It should have been presented in this game venue this way. And so it might have been good to use other organizations too to compare, but that's what they chose to do. I would give this game a rating of 4 out of 5 because I definitely think it accomplished its stated goal, which was to challenge the assumptions about relief work. And it demonstrates how difficult and complicated these situations are, and that it's not an easy answer just to to take care of people in those situations and work in those situations. So it begins to answer the question that all of us who are watching it go on, we all ask the question, well, why isn't aid getting where it needs to be? Why isn't this happening? And it begins to show why that is difficult. And I think that's important for us to know. Thanks.